All right, welcome back. Now, let's get the perspective of a farmer on the issue of the border closure. As we told you earlier, the federal government plans to reopen the border so that trade activities can actually resume. But farmers in the country are scared. They do not want the borders reopened because they believe that will affect their activities and probably affect farming activities in the country, and then they might just not be able to get the market to actually compete. And now being joined on the program by Julius Oga, who is an agro entrepreneur, to shed more light on the position of the farmers. Mr. Oga, thank you very much for joining us on the program. Why would the farmers be against the reopening of the borders?
Yes, because we think the reopening of the borders is undoing the gains the government had attained in the initial decision to close the borders.
But these borders have been closed for 1 year. You can't continue to close the borders for eternity.
Yes, it necessitates the fact that the closure was necessitated by the fact that the government wants to, and the farmers as well want to be able to consolidate on the gains of local production. We can't leave our borders open when we don't compete very well with our neighboring countries. We don't have a manufacturing economy. We don't even have a sufficiently productive economy. Remember that we had jettisoned the agricultural sector because we could cheaply import what we wanted by selling oil. And the economy has gone totally comatose as far as agriculture is concerned. This administration has been trying to revive the agricultural sector. And we know that our products at the moment cannot compete in terms of price and in terms of quality with what is imported. And not just that, remember the government has banned the importation of rice. And if you consider the fact that the ban on the importation of rice has not stopped the smuggling of rice, then you know that we are endangering especially the production of rice. Local farmers have been encouraged by the closure of the border. Rice farming has, rice farming has improved over the last 1 to 2 years. Local production has actually increased. Local milling and bagging of rice has, been encouraged because the competition by those who smuggle and those who used to import cheap foreign rice has been, the farmers enjoying the support from the government.
But don't you think that the problem here is how to make local rice cheap, make the production process cheap so that local rice will be able to compete, for instance, with foreign rice that are coming in? Because the reason why local rice, for instance, would find it difficult to compete with some of these foreign rice that are smuggled in is because they are cheaper. So how then could we make local rice less expensive and more attractive, so to speak, so that they can do well? Because the truth is that if Nigeria has signed up to, I'm very sure you're aware of it, the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, then you just can't continue to lock your border. And it's also true that even you farmers would definitely need to sell your products. Sell them to other parts of Africa. So you can't continue to shut down your borders, prevent other countries now from bringing stuff into your own country, and you want to move stuff out.
You have to be food sufficient. You have to encourage your own local production and processing to the extent to which you are self-dependent in order to begin to sell to your neighbors. If you have not improved your own local capacity and there is no sufficient capacity utilization in your own production process, what are you exporting? So our neighbors all around us know that we are the giant. And they are taking the advantage of the fact that Nigeria is a huge market. We're a consumer market. Everybody, even outside of agriculture, if you consider comparatively other sectors, every investor wants to come to Nigeria. Why? Because Nigeria does not have sufficient local capacity in production. So what we do is buy and buy and buy. to what, and we call ourselves the giant of Africa. We should know that if Nigeria is food sufficient, then Nigeria will be in a position to supply and export food to the whole sub-region and to other parts of the world. And this requires a sacrifice. Yes, we have signed the free trade protocol, but we owe our citizens, the government owes Nigerian citizens the first right of obligation to protecting them from unfair foreign competition. This is what the cheap foreign rice is doing to us. Now we need to, if we want to actually have Nigerian rice that competes globally in the global market, then we must continue with a system that encourages local production, which will be refined over time. It can't happen overnight. It cannot happen in one day.
I know you are into rice. I know you are into rice production. Why is our local rice quite expensive?
Yes, because at the moment we are struggling to do what we've never done before. We've always imported rice, and we've always relegated our own capacity to produce rice. So Nigerians have a reason to discriminate against our local rice, citing impurities and stones and all of that. Mind you, that many other things we consume are not free of stone. The meat we buy from the markets, the fish, the vegetables, it is processing that refines them. So if we continue to encourage local production of rice, for example, it will continue to such a state that it becomes what we want it to be and can compete globally. But at the moment you open the borders and flood the market with that preferred or better packaged, better processed foreign rice, you will have dislodged the local farmer and entrepreneur who have invested in trying to revive a sector that is nearly dead.
But how then do you deal with a situation where, as you have said, we have not achieved food self-sufficiency yet? Take, for instance, rice. We've not achieved self-sufficiency in rice. As a matter of fact, we don't even have enough rice to feed the people of this country. So why then? Why then should you stop, for instance, rice from other countries from coming in to also support to meet local demands?
We can't achieve food sufficiency, rice sufficiency overnight. We can't achieve overnight. And I disagree with you that we do not have enough to feed our population. We have more rice in the market than is being sold, actually.
Oh, really?
And despite the challenges, the environmental challenges that we faced this year in the northern regions like Kebbi, like Jigawa, like Kano, where rice is produced in very huge quantities, despite the flooding that has upset the cultivation and growing of rice in those regions, there is still rice massively grown in Nasarawa, in Niger, in Ebonyi State, in Benue State, in the middle of this country. So if we could continue to encourage people to grow. It's not only rice we eat so many other things.
Absolutely.
In spite of the fact that rice is a staple for those of us who have become city dwellers. It's not a staple for the rural farmer out there and for other Nigerians in the countryside. It's mostly for us who dwell in the city. So we need to actually, improve our own capacity. And the only way to encourage our farmers is, for the moment, I know that the ban on importation of rice is there. But given the deficiencies in our system, the moment the borders are open, the markets, the smugglers would have been given a head start. You are like telling them, get ready to go back to what you were doing before.
And finally, let me ask you this. So if you would want the border to remain closed, but for how long would you want the border to remain closed? And how long do you think it will take, for instance, for us to achieve the kind of sufficiency in food that you think we'll need and that might probably place us on a pedestal to begin to export rice, for instance, to other parts of the world?
You see, we like good things in Nigeria, but we don't want to make sacrifices. For how long did the Chinese close their economy to the rest of the world? For how long did the Malaysians, the Asian tigers, for how long did they close themselves within themselves and paid attention to what they were producing? The moment they achieved local sufficiency and they began to look for markets and they opened up. Why can't we make a similar sacrifice? We don't expect, those people are looking for markets. Whoever you think has developed his economy and is, living at very, very high human development indexes, they have seen in us a ready market for their products. And they are not interested in our becoming self-sufficient because they will lose this market. So it is up to us to realize that we need to make some sacrifice, even if it means closing the borders for 5 years. Let us do it. Others have done it for more than that period. We talk about Malaysia and Singapore and all of those. They came under dictatorial regimes. They were built up by making sacrifices. We in Nigeria should be prepared to make sacrifices when we have to, because we are building a country for the future. We're building this country for the next generation. But we will not make any progress if we think because of the inconveniences we have to suffer, and then we keep pushing we are just postponing doomsday. We keep pushing and thinking that, okay, there will be a better time when these things can be done. It's a lie. If we don't make the sacrifice now, we will still make the same sacrifice, or even worse, we'll suffer worse consequences if we don't make the sacrifices we are supposed to make. And like I said, we should take the example from what the Chinese did. When did they open up their economies? After they have built up and consolidated what they had and started looking for markets.
I understand your point perfectly. Julius Oga, thank you very much for joining us on the program and for sharing your thoughts with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so very much. We'll take a short break now and we'll be right back. On DEJI360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country? I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly. God forbid that I go to join that
DEJI360, providing clarity to issues.